hopefully a little bit more than the previous one, is obviously the Destiny kind of had to focus on Dallas, and that makes sense because obviously there aren't any qualification implications for this match, right? We've already talked about that the Justice are out of the June Joust, but Matt, they finally show the form that would have got them into knockouts just a little too late.
Well, they show signs of life. I mean, the first week of the June Joust, they hit 3-0'd twice, which really kind of ruins their chances at that point. I think it was Space in his interview before with Danny. He was talking about seeing other teams in control of like their destiny, right? Where that's kind of where the Justice have found themselves. Like they needed to play great this week and get a lot of help. You never want to be in that spot. I think fortunately for the Justice, you get a win. You don't lose and ruin that unbelievable start to the overall season you had in the main melee.
Absolutely. The Justice, I mean, it's a fancy scoreline at the face of it. 5-2 is really good. And it does bode well for them further in the season. They're probably thinking much further forward now than the Shock, who want to get themselves in a bye situation. They want a big victory here in this game. And look, you can't spoil the Shock out of knockouts, but you can definitely make it a little bit less of a restful process for them. But as I think it was sort of Scott that pointed out, maybe the Shock back to this two-time champion form, but it's a different look they're bringing, Matt. And we saw Glister in that series against the Fuel, who looked incredible on the hit scan, like a true, I guess, descendant of what they had with Arns.
And I wonder if we'll look back at the end of the season overall and kind of think about that first tournament, the May Melee. It's kind of being good for the Shock that they didn't go deep. They didn't have like a tremendous run in it. It just would have added even more pressure to like FD God, Nero, Glister, like players I think who are clearly feeling some of the pressure coming into this team. Where now, right, coming into the June Joust, we just talked about them being the defending champions. We talked about a lot of other teams coming into the June Joust. They kind of went under the radar a little bit and allowed them to take some of that pressure off of these new players. And now you're starting to see, Nero playing really well. This is a great meta for a player like FD God as well. And they're starting to click.
Nero is living Echo Diff. He is absolutely insane on that hero. Striker, obviously, we always sort of see him play the Reaper on Control. It looks very, very good. Here's the Washington Justice now. Decay finally back in yesterday. Everyone sort of wondered, what's going on? Where's Decay at? And some incredible memes came out of that game. But obviously, seeing Decay back, he looks very, very good again. This is maybe less of a meta where he can just have big standout individual performances, right? It's not a meta. You really have to just do your job as the non-Echo player right now.
Yeah, look, anytime you have Decay on the roster, the fans are going to go crazy whenever he's not in. And it's good to see him back, right? He's just such a dynamic playmaker, whether obviously out in hero pools, but Tracer, on the Tracer, Reaper, whatever he wants to play, hit scan. Such a difference maker, and I think it just makes everybody's life easier for the rest of the players on the team. So good to see him back in. We saw some Jerry at the beginning of the June Joust. Haven't seen him since, but I think this is what the Justice fans wanted. This is the lineup that they expected to be in the entire time in these types of matches.
Nepal will be our first map here in this series. And again, just let's set expectations here. Probably not expecting to see anything crazy compositionally, at least from the Shock. They showed against the Dallas field that on control maps they really do want to keep trying to push the Echo Reaper story. And again, look, if you're the Justice, this is, I don't know how much you're going to try, because your next game is going to be on a different in a different meta, probably, considering that hero pools change and
how much will it change though? I mean, if the stuff from live, right, there is an ultimate reduction with Moira and Echo. But could you see some type of composition like this, with a Tracer in the mix, like a Sombra, Doom, you bring Reinhardt back? I think you may see more compositions like this in your future.
Especially, if you're on live and you're experiencing much the same thing, then that should be an indicator of what you'll see to come. I'd love to see Bebe on the Ana. Definitely, probably his best hero, but it's more likely that he's on Moira duty here. Now, I don't know. San Francisco, if they play this comp, it'd be interesting. It gives Nero a bit more protection than as if they had a Winston, but it's unlikely that we go this way. Yeah. No. Just a sim TP to get him out into the fight, Matt, and we should have mirror compositions.
Round one.
Yep, Nero will go and play the Echo. So, mirror compositions on both sides. I think this is a really great test for a team like the Shock going into knockouts. Because like Space talked about, he felt like the Justice were one of the more underrated teams. They figured out the meta. This isn't your Justice of the first 2 weeks of the June Joust. Really good warm-up for tomorrow's knockouts for the Shock.
Assassin plays safe to start with here. A little bit hard to go over the top on a map like this. You need to go around or sometimes straight through. As the Coalescence use would indicate, Violet gets his one pretty early compared to Bebe. There is nothing that the Shock are really able to derive from the use of that ability. Oh, I kind of like that.
They're going to have to give up point, though.
Yeah, I wonder if Fury was trying to eat up the Biotic Orb as he flew through. He probably didn't know it was being used there, but that would have actually made it really hard to heal Smurf back up. Both Coalescences traded out. Assassin has the duplicate. Nero's close to his. It's a Winston duplicated, Matthew. And a Death Blossom here from Decay. Well, I mean, not a bad place to be Primal Raging here, but Assassin doesn't want to commit.
Yeah, this is great for the Justice, right? They get the Primal, this forces out Sound Barrier. Now they can use their own Sound Barrier and try and push on through. Cole, they're just not able to find any kills at the moment.
Second Coalescence to the fight here for Violet. Did that one go? Nero comes out of duplicate, looking for Assassin. Sticky Bombs unleashed. Smurf will just juggle here, not looking for a kill, not committing to anything, just trying to sow some discord and some discombobulation if possible. And Mag actually went for the kill on Violet. He'd already burnt the Fade. That's nicely done by the Justice. They look comfortable, Matt.
It's the point now will go back to the Justice. They looked very good the other day. This is why I think a lot of people were wondering, like, where is Decay? I understand if you want to play Jerry in some of those long range, maybe hit scan, make Decay more of like Tracer type of specialist, but I'd even say Decay plays those at the highest level there is. And you have a player like him, he needs to be in, and you see the results. I think they're also playing the meta now, and they're playing it at a high level.
Striker with the Death Blossom. Decay just gives him a huge hit with those Hellfire shotguns. He's forced to peel back away. Assassin, it's not even worth going for the kill on the Mini Diva. He'll just come out of duplicate with 100 HP left. Balanced. Here come the bombs though, Matt. Okay, Assassin goes down to FD. God, that trademark aggression for FD God pays off with a crucial pick-off here. The Shock need to get control at this point one way or another. The timing on that sound barrier from FD God was just sublime. It keeps Striker alive and gives him a chance to heal him up. Smurf gets Primal just in time, but Striker goes down to the self-destruct. It's a 1-for-1, but the Shock have lost their Reaper.
Yeah, and they just lost their Moira as well. As this will be a self-destruct onto the point for San Francisco, but it is not looking good. You're going to have both supports back in the mix here for the Justice. They look to be putting away point one.
That's your overtime, and Striker stuck behind a pillar there. The Washington Justice really coming of age in this June Joust metagame. Sadly too late, but in a good position to show just how adaptable they are.
I imagine there's a lot of other teams, though, who are happy that the Paris Eternal ended up taking that map to prevent a team like the Justice from sneaking in.
They could have snuck in on differential, yeah.
The team that snuck in on the differential last time ended up winning the whole thing.
That's true.
He would not have wanted to see this Justice team sneak in on a differential like that and really start to hit their peak.
Just pound in knockouts and just go to Hawaii out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Ooh, man. Look at this, exquisite.
Violet gets solo here, yeah.
Maybe Violet doesn't track that ultimate and thinks he can just survive by, slurping and not fading.
Interesting. So when we get back in the game, the Shock have come into spawn, they take high ground. The Justice don't play forward at all. They'll play just straight on the low ground. They're just going to play straight around the point here.
Maybe they know the Shock has to play compact on the point and it's easier for Decay and Assassin. Still, this is purposeful. The Justice allow the Shock to get point position. They haven't captured it yet, of course. Decay's got a Wraith Walk early.
It allows you to play way more Deathball here with a fight on the point, right? That's how you see Bebe getting a Coalescence right now.
Shock in a good spot to take the point, but Coalescence is here first from Bebe. Violet's going to get one of his own, and getting Trick Open fighting fit is definitely an important aspect of the process here for the Shock. Sound barrier for almost everybody. Smurf won't need it if he gets Primal Rage.
Assassin with a Moira duplicate here, so you're going to have Primal with another Coalescence and a Sound Barrier.
Right, they get overlaid. Cole is there. They keep Assassin alive as he's duplicated the Winston. Here comes the Death Blossom from Decay. He finds Violet and Striker. That's a jackpot for a Death Blossom in a meta that usually doesn't find too much because of defense matrix. Very nicely done. Nero copies Winston. Maybe if he copied D.Va a little earlier, would have been able to shut Decay down. But no one's taken the point yet. It's still the Justice looking to win the fight.
Yeah, and they will. Choi should be able to make it out with his life as well. So Justice finally able to take the point and just felt like it went forever. Interesting choice of the duplicate there for Assassin. Don't know if it was intentional or just picked the wrong target, but that extra Coalescence was huge there towards the end of that fight.
Mag playing close. That's the Coalescence from Violet early, and the Justice try and disengage from it as much as they can, but they can't get Fury out alive. Coalescence still causing problems here for Washington, but the Sound Barrier thrusts Decay forwards, and they're able to snap Smurf up. Now it's actually the Shock on the back foot, despite getting the first pick in this fight, but Nero makes Assassin look like the city of Rome with the sticky bombs. He has to trade his life for Decay, though, who's going to be getting close to yet another Death Blossom, and the Justice still have control at this point. That's that Decay Death Blossom. It does create a lot of space and get rid of Choi Kyobin's mech. Decay makes good on that as well, follows up, gets the mini D.Va kill. Strike is forced away.
You use the Coalescence here at the end for the Justice, and I actually think they probably could have saved it, which could give the Shock a window of opportunity here. Coalescence of their own, Death Blossom, duplicate Primal Rage. The first fight, which seemed like ages ago, Decay actually, with his Death Blossom, gets Violet and Striker while Striker's using his Death Blossom. So, haven't seen a Death Blossom from Striker since.
Speculative focusing being from Assassin, but he gets in position to copy the D.Va. Not much you can do about Violet's Coalescence here, except try and boop him so he can't get to the rest of his team. Two D.Vas, but no one to shut down the Death Blossom from Striker. That's Decay gone, and Fury also desuited. The Shock will be able to break back in here, Matt, at 89%.
Yep, players just trickle onto the point there for the Justice to try and hold, and with the ultimates that the Shock had, they were in a fantastic spot to flip the point. And look at how fast Violet builds up towards this Coalescence. We just saw it at the beginning of the last fight. Him and Bebe are going to be virtually at the same spot in terms of ult charge. So you may have a fight or two here before the Justice can, or just a period of time here before the Justice can really make a good attempt to flip it.
So let's see what the Justice do to try and, I don't know, exacerbate that process, or at least expedite it. The earlier the better for them, so they don't want to give the Shock too much of this percentage. Fury goes in, eats the sticky bombs, takes that one for the team. Here's that Coalescence now from Bebe, and Violet was the second to pop his. Fury self-destruct is through the point, and it catches Violet. He must have had the fade to get away, and now things are looking pretty nasty for San Francisco. They had to go for a Sound Barrier to stay in this round. But the Justice have one as well. Striker goes down. That overshield doesn't last long enough, and Decay is hunting. He's hunting for Smurf. And he'll have him now on the point. He'll be able to step back and TP forward. Yes, he gets away from the self-destruct. Also has an off-angle position to sort of ingress and make a Death Blossom episode happen.
And these players still kind of hanging out here for the Shock. You don't have Smurf here. I wonder if the Justice can take advantage of it. They're going to have a Coalescence and Death Blossom as Decay gets behind.
Oh, they weren't ready.
Oh.
Not even close to ready. Violet and Nero get absolutely riddled with holes as Decay springs forth from his hiding place. And that is a map 1 victory for the Washington Justice. The Shock looks sluggish.
I'm going to say it. I don't. If Decay doesn't want to practice, whatever, I don't care. Just put him in the game. I mean, just play him.
Whoa.
He wants to take a vacation during the week, come play on the weekends.
Let's not propagate any rumors here.
Well, I mean, I haven't heard anything, but even if that was true, who cares? Put him in the game. I mean, he is
this
so
is the equivalent of
you can see the difference that he makes.
This is the equivalent of the NBA give him the Supermax regardless argument, I think. Decay.
Yeah, I mean, you can see just the impact from when he is on the map, just his presence and being able to clean up some of these fights on the Reaper. It's just too important for this team.
You see how different their Justice look with Decay. Let's see if he stays in. Of course, as we come back from the break for map number 2, the Shock have a lot of work to do. They are looking slow to start, and that ain't saying much.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed seeing everybody's fantastic artistic contribution this season to our fan art gallery presented by Coca-Cola. This week, keep it up. I mean, yeah, we would love it if you could include some Coca-Cola beverage in there, like that Sato 2L picture I keep talking about, because I just think it's so well done stylistically. It's incredible. Coming from someone whose greatest creative endeavors is trying to fit like some really inappropriate words into broadcast, I'm very impressed those that are able to exercise their creativity in more productive manners. So keep coming. overwatchleague.com/art-gallery. And that's how you can submit your work. Again, I'm looking for more recreations of Carl in different environments just to keep Matt happy. Matt, so far, though, I think we're pretty happy with Washington. They look very, very good. You're very pleased with Decay. You say no matter what, put this guy in. He needs to be in. He's the beating heart of this Washington Justice lineup.
You don't really care what his what he wants to do, what happens, like, or if in a hero doesn't really, maybe you're trying to make him a specialist or something, like, it doesn't matter. He needs.
Yeah, he's a specialist.
I think
he's a DPS specialist. He's a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, we've seen what he's able to do with. Remember when he was on Dallas? Like, obviously they weren't good, but when he was in the game, like, he would even make it close against some of the significantly better teams just with his play. I think I remember a game last year we casted. I don't remember against who, but he was like insta-locking Tracer in. I think it was the Valiant. I think it was where he was insta-locking Tracer against the Torb and just popping off. Didn't even matter. Like,
by the way, not a great idea. You should not do that. Is Matt's point?
No,
you it ends badly.
You shouldn't do that. And then we saw what he did with the Justice in the playoff last year. Obviously playing the Zarya. So we know the impact he can have on these teams, where I get you want to kind of get some other players some run and try and craft roles for everybody, but eventually you just gotta you just gotta play the
Why
best,
does
right?
this team always peak too late, Matthew? You know what I mean? It's the curse of the Justice.
Yeah.
Well,
right. They peaked last year in the playoff and just don't get over the line. They go 4-0, but then lose in the knockouts in the melee. This time they dropped the first two, and then now they look like world beaters here at the end of the stage. It's tough.
Yeah, Philly fans know what it's like, I guess. The Justice, not quite there, but again, I mean, look, that season record is really, unless you really care about Decay having extra prize money for, and look, a lot of our players are hailed from South Korea, always say they're gonna go get food with their prize money winnings, like it's like a $25,000 filet mignon that they're gonna be buying. Like, unless you're worried about that, then look towards the end of the season. See the Justice 5-2 right now. Chance to go 6-2. That's pretty darn good for overall season playoffs going forward. Compositions, Matt, we didn't talk about them because they are the same as each other and as the last map.
Yeah, nothing surprising. Unlike how we saw the Titans come out and try and play like the Orisa with the Ashe, which set them up really poorly for their point B defense. Both of these teams realize that the other is obviously good enough, and I think it's the Shock specifically, that the other team's good enough to take this and steamroll through B, and that's a tough one to lose. You have no way to disengage now from all of this damage. Losing FD God early.
Yeah, it's almost like they gave FD God just enough rope there. He was out in the open and gets hit with a sticky bomb. So good patience from the Washington Justice. And FD God, I like what he was doing there, Matt. He's kind of using the bunker and just trying to knock Mag around the corner a little bit, so it puts him maybe a little bit further out. Takes longer to get back. He takes more damage in that first little engagement. But, doing so does make him vulnerable. So got to respect him for trying to make a play. But playmaking is not your best friend as Lucio right now.
The Shock are going to be in trouble here. Duplicate available for both sides. Primal will be up for Mag. The issue is closer with the sound barrier is so much further ahead than FD God because he drops first. If the Justice take this fight, they force out these coalescences and then come back with a sound barrier, they could end up taking it, but they try and actually disengage from this duplicate. Now they'll use their coalescence.
They might still have caught the Shock, Matt. San Francisco need to double down now. Their bluff has been called and they need to make good on the leverage they've called. Fury desuited here, but Assassin still has a mech to work with. He'll set that one and try and break the bubble. He does get that, but no one is there to be affected by the explosion. Mag has Primal Rage here. Okay, Smurf has to be careful. He may have had to Primal just to get back on the map if he was knocked up there, but that is the state of play right now. Decay stuck inside Defense Matrix.
I don't like the way that they played that from Washington. When the duplicate comes in, they disengage. They should have just duplicated Coalescence and just matched it. And just taken the fight. You gave up your opportunity to have a sound barrier right after that. Like, even if you just stand there toe-to-toe with the Shock and exchange damage, you're going to have an advantage in terms of survivability. They would have had Primal first, and they had sound barrier. So little bit of a mistake potentially there for the Justice.
Not even a tick there for Washington. They were definitely looking pretty disjointed by the end of that fight. Whereas San Francisco look a little bit more antsy. They're playing forward here. And again, they have coalescence once more. Both teams do, so that sort of has been reset. And of course, the D.Va duplicate here from Nero. Death Blossom, can he get anything here? Yes! Closes down, despite the presence of two D.Va makes, two defense matrices on the Justice. They cannot keep Striker quiet.
Now the shot they've gotten rolling. Look how far Smurf pushes forward for that kill on Abebe. Stays there and makes sure he gets all that healing orb in from Violet. Everything so important getting that mortar of the coalescence. We'll see if the Justice can even really fight past this choke now. The first fight kind of goes to the point just virtue of how long it lasted, but see if they're able to get through the choke here and how they go about doing it.
Joy waiting, trying to keep that defense matrix up as much as possible in case Decay makes an appearance with a flourish and goes for the Blossom. You saw across the point goes Fury there. He's trying to pressure Smurf. Isn't able to force a mistake from the enemy Winston there, though, and here's Sound Barrier. Here's the fight. Self-destruct comes in over the top now, but Mag's already gone down. The Sound Barrier for the Shock lets him be just a little bit more aggressive. Then the Justice getting nothing from Fury. What? They commit? Whoa, 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 whoa! They're going in. Decay Death Blossoms gets nothing. What on earth am I watching?
So the Shock end up using Coalescence.
Oh, man.
I was going to say the Bebe pops his here. As they tried to fight that so hard, and then maybe it's something that like you're a little bit overconfident there, where you think you can win it, pull it out, and that is a good ultimate thrown after a bad fight there for the Justice as you burn that Coalescence towards the end.
This is Striker's TP, so notice Bebe has Coalescence right now. Bebe has Coalescence right now, and it don't matter. He cannot heal through that damage. It's not possible, and Fury wasn't ready. That's, oh, man. That's not good. I'll just be honest.
Imagine if they had Coalescence right here.
Matt.
I mean, you'd be in great shape.
He's twisting the knife for you Justice fans right now. I apologize. So Nero has a self-destruct. He'll just set that up there on the box. This is going to force a couple of players out of LOS. It actually knocks Assassin out of duplicate. That's probably pretty annoying. Another one from Nero. And Assassin goes down to Troy Coben here. A lot of positioning being forced by Nero, getting two bombs there. Makes it really hard for the Justice to set up together at all. They can't be cohesive.
In the way that they play between Smurf and Nero, it's like they've been teammates for years. Just how good their teamwork is in diving the same target. The ceremonial stagger there of the D.Va. Fury does not look amused as that happens. So now we're back to square one. Coalescence for both sides. You're going to have the beat here for the Shock, which they probably realize they have an advantage of. Wouldn't be surprised if we see them be the one who goes aggressive.
I think modern games of
using the Coalescence.
Modern games of Snakes and Ladders should have like negative squares for poor ult usage, right? You should be back behind square one. It should be a big old snake that takes you like square minus 20, and you have to you have to like roll doubles to get out. Anyway. The Justice here, definitely a long ladder to climb now to try and get towards the point. It's going to be Coalescence from Violet to match that of Bebe. Primal in play here for Mag, and Smurf is holding on to his. Maybe waiting for the beat. Close is going to go for he gets it. Smurf isn't on the Lucio at the time. I thought maybe he was trying to shut the Lucio ultimate down, but that's tough to do, I imagine. Here's a Death Blossom. Assassin! He's low. Yeah, Fury couldn't keep him alive. Decay's going to try and reciprocate now, and he does get rid of Striker, but FD God's able to find the Reaper. 2-for-2 trade, though. Self-destruct catches Smurf, and the Shock create a bit of space with two bombs back to back. And that is huge for them. Gives them time to get Smurf back in the fight. He's just respawned now, and there's only a few seconds left for the Justice, and they've lost Mag.
And Nero's in a spot where the self-destruct comes in from Fury, and he wouldn't have been able to get out of the way. That's when he uses the duplicate to mitigate some of that
invulnerability
damage.
frames.
Decay TPs from behind, uses the Wraith form. That'll be a Coalescence as Fury will get on and keep continuing the point.
Decay removed by Striker here. Striker playing safe in the corner, out of the purview of that Coalescence as much as possible. And there's a duplicated D.Va, but that just means more meat for Striker to grind. And there's a Wraith Walk here, so he'll just be able to skip away if he needs to. Assassin Remix removed immediately, of course. And the San Francisco Shock looking pretty good now. It's the classic Wrecking Ball cheese for Mag, but he gets away. And there it is. You know, I think it's something that fighting game players deal with a lot, or sort of talk about a lot, is about how to, you know, use those windows of invulnerability that are just inherent to your character's animation or one of their abilities. Think about it. I mean, people use Fade for that invulnerability. You duplicate. Not only do you get that invulnerability frame, Matt, you also, you know, get to copy a hero and get accelerated old generation. So
we've seen it with like Meteor Strike in the past, right, from Doomfist.
I mean, that's a pretty good deal, man. There's a lot packed into duplicate.
So the Justice get first point off of the back of an early pick of FD God, and then really it's nothing after that. Just absolutely dominance by the Shock once we get to point B. So we'll see how things go now for Shock's offense. It would lead you to believe that the Shock would be able to beat this, right? Just needing to get one tick on point B.
Yeah, they set themselves up for a pretty cozy win condition here. And in fairness, the Shock are making far less. It's the same composition as we saw on Control, but they're making a lot less mistakes about it. They looked, I mean, very, very shaky on Shrine especially, but here, defensively, despite having, like, you could call him a loose cannon. FD God is less aggressive than he used to be, but, you know, he's definitely one of the more streaky members of the Shock, and that's by nature, right? That's kind of the trade that Krusty makes. He wants to have that aggressive Lucio player, the guy that goes for those big moments, but he knows that there's always a flip side. There's another edge on that sword. It's not a katana. So other gates would come. Again, Matt said it well. One tick on point B. That's all the Shock need as they make their approach here.
So see if they can kind of manufacture a pick early. The Shock turn things in their favor as Striker actually took an off angle a little bit from the side.
Oh, FD God.
Some extra damage into Mag, and that's going to force them back.
That was all the Lucio from the Shock there, Matt. A gigantic, like, 5-player boot forward by FD. Means that Bebe has to use his Fade to get into the bunker, I think. So they just chase him down. That is sick Lucio play.
Yeah, Mag was just taking so much damage from Nero and Striker from the side as well that they needed to back up as fast as possible to try and just live on defense. But once you have those movement abilities taken offline, this composition acts so fast. In between the Reaper and the Echo, you're able to just burn players down. So Coalescence is on the table with a duplicate here for the Shock. All they need is one tick as well.
Clean fight, and they could break a record as well. Let's see Mag. Oh, he gets blown up. The focusing beam, even with the Coalescence in play, wouldn't have been enough. Bebe does get that Coalescence now. So how does he salvage the situation? First of all, he has to do nothing because of the self-destruct. Fury clearly didn't get the same hit, and the Shock already done. Wow, an open and shut book is Volskaya Industries. San Francisco.
I would love to know if that is a record, what they finish with. I think it was definitely above 530, I believe.
I reckon you have to be in the vicinity of 540-ish to have... Remember, there's like a respawn timer advantage, so it's not... Yeah. And again, I guess it's not a map completion because they only get one tick, so I don't know if it even counts as a record. Either way, very, 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 very fast. Great job to FD God there as well. You saw both edges of the FD God sword there, Matt. You know, on defense, how he gets a little bit caught out of position trying to create opportunities like that, and then he gets to create the opportunities that an aggressive Lucio player looks for and just dominates. Fantastic stuff from San Francisco. They even up the series now. It's going to be an interesting one, so stick around for map number 3 here and see which of these teams is really up to the task today.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.
No shortage of talent here in our top 20 main tanks entering this week in our power rankings with IBM Watson. But Mag, Choikyobin, and Super respectively sit at 12, 17, and 19. Now, Matt, I would argue that, you know, at one time or another, Smurf was pretty a comfortable shoe-in for the best Winston player, best main tank in the world. And I think Mac had very high expectations coming into this season. So, I mean, it probably says a little bit of the story of these two teams up until this point that they're not, you know, closer to that number one spot.
Well, you also just don't have a ton of play time for Smurf, right? It's just been the games in the June Joust. He didn't really play much at all in the May Melee. It was really a lot of Super because of the Reinhardt. So that's why you see Super and Choi that high from the Shock. I think it's more interesting you don't see like somebody like Fury on that list, who we've always kind of considered one of the better off tanks in the league.
I think it's quite shocking that he's not there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we're all tied up, one game apiece, and Fury was a huge pickup for this Justice team as well, as he's let go, or not re-signed by the Philly Fusion. Nimbani up next. I think we're going to see more of the same. Would not really be expecting either of these teams to kind of deviate from this composition. The Justice, they've just found success with it. For the Shock, they've looked great on it. And you can see the map leaderboard here, presented by Xfinity for Nimbani all time. It is the Shock versus Washington from 2019. So hopefully for the Justice, it doesn't go this way again.
And if you cast your minds back, it was a pretty middling offering from the Washington Justice. They're up against a San Francisco who were rapidly turning into the team that ended up winning that championship. So, and then to go on to win yet another one in 2020. So there's some history between these two, to be sure, but the rosters very, very different. The Justice have brought in these star players from all around the Overwatch world. I mean, Closer was on the Fuel, Bebe was on the Spark, Fury was on the Fusion, Mag, of course, was a Runaway, Assassin was, WGS Phoenix, Decay, of course, was on the Fuel, so real mashup of stars here.
What did even the Justice roster look like? Probably it was like a Giannis, Arc, right?
Corey
God,
Stratus.
Potentially, the much different team, obviously. Like I mentioned, nothing surprising. Both teams playing the Reaper Echo on offense and defense, which is how important some of these key ultimates are. You can't afford to switch.
Here's your dive. Oh, okay. A little interaction there, but Mag, because he kind of gets knocked away by Smurf's dive, and that forces the Justice to essentially give up the high ground straight away. Otherwise, Mag sits on the low ground for 6 seconds and can't get involved in the fight. So not a great start for them at all. And now Nero playing safe for now. Not until he sees like a lowish health target as he try and go for the sort of the flight focusing beam combo. Smoke gets blown up in the front line here. For whatever reason, Choi's not able to keep him alive. Mag gets traded here, so Nero finally finds that target. And Decay sees defense matrix and just Wraith walks away.
And that first kill there onto Smurf is huge. It may actually be the reason that the Justice are able to turn this, because that was a big advantage for the Shock. It'll be a Death Blossom as soon as the D-Mech comes in here for Decay. Sound Barrier as well. Death Blossom here for the San Francisco Shock, as that'll be a self-destruct to clear the point there for the Justice.
Assassin able to find Striker after he gets one with the Death Blossom here, so this fight is far from done. Nero, self-destruct, is going to be a Winston bubble there, but it's not really going to help the Shock as they lose FD God. Choi's back in the fight though, with Coalescence in play. There might be something here. Another self-destruct from the Shock, but Fury goes down to Violet Coalescence while he was out of his mech. He tried to go for his own Diva Bomb, but he's not nearly as survivable as Echo. Echo just does Diva, but better right now, and Nero finds a perfect focusing beam pick on Decay in the front, and this will be the Justice forced away.
Decay has to use Wraith form to get back to his team. Not enough healing to bring him back. So he does get topped up a little bit, but Smurf jumps right on top of him. Some shots in from Nero, and then the focusing beam to finish him off. So the Shock in a really long fight, drawn out. We'll get the cart moving now.
We see a few teams take this particular fight. Saw it in the previous game from the Titans. They wanted to wrap around and get an engagement. Oh, that's not good. Oh, Mag goes down before Bebe can do much of the Coalescence. He's able to get Striker though, so there's some consolation there, and the Justice will obviously full commit to this fight anyway based on their positioning. And they're spawned so far away, there's no point trying to, wait for a reinforcement. So here's a self-destruct over the top from Trico, but it's not a very good spot for it. And Bebe's felled by Nero.
I mean, this is such a hard spot to fight in because you have the respawners coming in here for the shock, and you have to fight players in front of you, now behind you as the respawns keep coming in. The Justice doing about as good of a job as you can, though, against this. Just having the shock just burn through ultimates. This time, though, the shock, they'll get the cart moving. And they do have the sound barrier and the duplicate to work with. You see on the top of your screen, the Justice have nothing. So even though the Justice were getting some ultimates out of the shock still come out on top of the trade.
I mean, the Justice are going to keep doing this, man, over and over again. Just throw themselves at the shock. Try and gum up the wheels on this war tank that's just starting to move across the map. Okay, FD God's down. I think Decay was pretty far forward there, and that's evidenced by Striker picking him off there. This should be a kill for Mag, and Violet almost keep himself alive. Again, every kill traded out, but the Justice are trying to make it costly.
Can you even challenge this, though? You don't have your Winston. You have Coalescence, which is the positive thing here. So it'll be Fury who gets a touch. You might just see this Coalescence try to get primaled away.
Smurf's trying to force the C9. I think he sees the Coalescence and realizes he can't really stop Bebe from healing his front line. But there's enough time bought for Violet to get back in the fight. He actually had quite a walk to get back, based on how far back San Francisco's spawn is right now, but he makes good on the amount of time that the shock had to hold out in his absence. Decay is down. Nero's going to have a chance to duplicate here, but there's no Diva to duplicate. So he probably just holds onto it, doesn't need to use it anyway, so that's fine, no harm done. Shock aren't exactly snowballing here, but they're purring along.
No, it's not a speed run. It's still pretty impressive. I think the more impressive thing, though, was during that fight, the Coalescence plus sound barrier for the Justice, and they got the K right in Smurf's face, but still not even able to finish him off, as Smurf has just lived for so long in these fights. So we talked about him, how good he is on the Winston.
Decay, for a moment, trying to find FD God, who's very close to a sound barrier. So teleport forward. We've seen this on Ilios, if they don't know, they have no idea. Decay's going to go in there, not use the Death Blossom, though. His plans get foiled a little bit by the Coalescence, I think. Violet's going to have that available, but doesn't have a chance to use it. Hold Death Blossom, he's done his job. And the call from Bebe comes out and gets 2.
Now you have the sound barrier for the Justice. You counter the Coalescence, that'll come through, and you get a DMAC and a kill here at the end, so you're going to buy yourself some more time. So the Justice really just need 2 fights here on defense to put themselves in a good position for the map.
Yeah, I mean, look, Closer has a sound barrier here, and Decay was looking to get creative with his teleport like he did on the first map of the series and just get big Death Blossoms, even with the defense matrix in play. He's going to do it again. Try to anyway. It works. So much damage taken by the shock here that FD God was rolled. Violet does get a Coalescence a little bit later here, and he goes for it. Mag, he tries to jump away, but I love it. Choi Kerwin sends the self-destruct right after Mag. Mag didn't have a bubble. He gets caught.
And they lose Closer there to a Moira Orb. It may not even matter. This will be a Reaper copy here for Assassin. Just they try and just front load all this Reaper damage for both. Really deter the shock from coming on in. You don't want to walk into a double Reaper setup.
Look, at any point, I think any duplication probably deters San Francisco there, with Smurf having been taken down by a bomb. Still, now it's going to mean that Nero has a duplicate. It's going to be a Diva, of course. He pursues Fury, tries to knock him back in formation with the rest of his team. Maybe make him more subject to Smurf's flailing fists, as he has the Primal Rage right now. Nero was hoping to chase Assassin down, and he gets Bebe, though. Violet just slurps Assassin as he flies a little bit too low to the ground. Nero focusing me and gets Closer, so he's happy to trade his life there, and that is a fight win. But the Shock are running out of time here, and there'll definitely be another team fight before the end of the map.
Yep. And you're going to have Primal Rage here to knock players, to splice them off of the payload, and Death Blossom. Can Decay get a good TP somewhere, oddly behind? He's going to go up top. They see it, though. Not going to be able to go in and get one of those sneaky Death Blossoms.
Did I see this from Striker? Okay, Closer's able to just get away. He was knocked back by Smurf's dive into Striker's line of fire, so it could have been bad, real bad for the Justice. Striker comes out of Wraith Walk and didn't get a lot of healing in the meantime, so he's a fairly easy target for Decay, who works him down. And the Shock are happy with a quick fight. They might have another chance here, but they didn't have much to go on after getting very little early.
Yeah, they're not gonna have much of anything to work with, and Assassin's gonna have the duplicate. So you also saw some neat tech that the Shock were trying to do. Striker with a TP directly into a Death Blossom, and Smurf jumps on top and bubbles it, trying to eliminate anybody kind of poking at Striker from long range. We'll see Primal in a self-destruct here, which how good Choi is. Can't write that one off.
Absolutely. Both main tanks, both Winston suffering from the self-destruct so far. There it is. Choi gets rid of Assassin. Oh, Assassin got, I don't know what happened there. Knocked back maybe into it. He's having a remech though, by the looks of things. And he's out of duplicate though, so back to the rest of his team. Here's where it gets serious. Violet's close to Coalescence. He lets it go instantly, and they get Mag. That's a huge bonus. A real layering of support ultimates here for San Francisco though. FD God doesn't use his beat in response to anything in particular, but I guess it's fine. The Shock have everything they need just to brute force this solution, man. It's not elegant, but rarely is it going to be in this meta.
No, and not the worst thing for Washington. What, 4 minutes or 3 minutes plus to get from point B to the end of the map, and you're able to hold them to no time in the bank. So decent defense there from Washington towards the end of the map, and they have a clear winning goal here, right? Complete the map, then get point A, and you take Numbani, where can they do it though? I think that's kind of the question. Like, they've looked really good at times. Sometimes I think they've really, used these support ults a little bit oddly, in the sense that, fight wins, you're already, towards the end where you're having sound barriers or like a coalescence in some cases. I think there's still a little bit of stuff you can clean up if you're the Justice to push yourself over the line.
And of course, tournament time looms, ladies and gentlemen. The knockouts begin. That's sort of the official beginning of our tournament. That's when the games really start to ratchet up in the stakes. So tomorrow, Sunday, June 6th, 12 p.m. PT. Oh, I love this part of the month, Matt. The games, there were just aren't any bad games. They're all sick.
Yeah, it's the best part about the format, right? Where you have obviously the qualifier games. We see the teams that are the best with this meta, and then we see the best teams battle the best, and especially seeing it from both regions. I think that's something we desperately missed last year. Not having the cross-region play as often, right? Just for the finals, but awesome to have it happen, for every tournament this year.
Okay, the Shock actually look like they want to be proactive here. They drop off the high ground. They voluntarily give up that position, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same type of play that the Justice did. Decay, he'll have to get out. CTP's in. He gets to one player low enough, and then Mag jumps in, finishes them off.
Nicely done. That TP play is looking pretty nice. There are a lot of teams that just sit there, Reaper in the front line, man. Right? Sit him inside the defense matrix. It's safe, it's cozy, it's warm there. Sat in this sort of cornucopia of protection, but Decay's willing to take the risk, TP forward into unknown territory, and he gets rewarded.
Right, he TP's up towards the high ground, jumps down, puts some shots in a few players. It gets them quite weak. He gets weak himself, but he wraith forms away, and that opens up a window where Mag can jump in, finish them off.
I love that. Fortune favors the bold, Matt, in every case. Faber going to get the coalescence there because Mag takes a bit of a beating at the start of that fight. Look at this aggression. Look at him go forward. That is an offensive Bionic Orb, by the way. Assassin going to copy the Diva here. Oh, realizes he has to boost away pretty quickly, though, because there's a bomb in play, and Bebe goes a little too far. He literally faded forward, Matt. Forward! He faded forward!
It'll be a sound barrier here for the Shock as they are fully committed to fighting this. It's Death Blossom in from Striker. You're throwing everything at it if you're San Francisco. You effectively need a little bit more like a team wipe to get fully set up, which they kind of get by putting that pressure on. Mag will come back. The Justice will be at full strength. You're still missing Nero, I believe, for the Shock.
Yeah, he's like a transatlantic flight away from the Shock still. Still, if they buy time, they might be okay. This is a good start. Decay tries to exacerbate the numbers deficit by going for a Death Blossom. They'll have to settle for a kill on Smurf, but that's choke open from the sky. Decay and Mag looking like smears on the ground, and the Shock get to re-establish this forward defense.
This is a bad spot to be if you're Washington, because you don't want to expend your ultimates to get out of this position here. The Shock, you're kind of playing with house money. You've completed the map. You know that's where the end goal is. You know this is such a difficult map to break through. You don't have to throw as many ultimates into this, and if you're winning these fights even through that, you're in a fantastic spot. Coalescence will come
Disengage from the Shock.
So it'll just force the Shock back a bit, yeah.
Okay, Violent there, set out. Looked like another damaging one from Bebe. Definitely wakes up and chooses violence every day. And here's that Primal Rage for 2 Winston. So Smurf wants to hit that back line. Mag made it costly for him, and Decay just blows him up.
So Decay, I mean, does a great job just turning, getting rid of Smurf. Now the cleanup coming on through. This is the fight that Washington needed, right from touch the bomb. Just hunting down FD God. You're still going to have another fight here, though. You're going to have another opportunity for San Francisco. And they're going to have Coalescence plus Striker's Death Blossom, where he could be quite sneaky to find himself into the backline.
It's worth pointing out there, we kind of saw one of the weaknesses for Echo here is that she doesn't have a flight cooldown. She tends to hang quite close to the ground and be a decent target for Reapers to snap up. It's not unheard of for Reapers to actually take down Echoes in those scenarios. Great D-suit there. The Coalescence is too slow to keep choice. Mech alive, and now you can party with the Death Blossom. Oh. And of course, San Francisco, I mean, they have no choice, Matt. That's not C9. There's a Death Blossom with no Diva Mech. What are you going to do? They have no duplicate either.
Yeah, because they disengaged. Yeah, because they move away. Well, they try and speed boost away from it. Nobody gets back to touch, though. So you're in a spot where you just give up the cart. And now what looked like it was pretty bad for the Justice, it's actually turning out quite positive. So look at this. I mean, Coalescence of their own, Primal. You're in a spot where you can definitely finish this with time.
Oh, Baby respects the radius of Death Blossom there. Knows, of course, from Volskaya that he can still get blown up during that ultimate. Okay, passing glance at Nero.
Withstood sound barrier, though.
He got taken down by Max. Primal here. Troy's out of the picture. This is looking so good for Washington. Nero duplicates some micro rockets and gets rid of Fury. Bebe has Fade. He's just not really feeling pressed right now. Goes over the remeching Diva. Uses the vending machine to avoid that damage. And there's Decay's Blossom. This is looking good for the Justice, man. A couple more of these and they're going to be finishing them out with plenty of time.
The only bad part is they let Violet live throughout this entire time. This will be a Death Blossom that comes in from Assassin. Coalescence comes out, but he's not able to get around the corner and get an eye on Smurf. So Smurf won't be able to get any value out of it. Choi will, for the Shock, luckily, get a self-destruct that goes onto the cart. Clear things out, but Sound Barrier and Coalescence available here for the Justice.
Maybe doesn't layer those support ultimates as well. He'll wait out the Sound Barrier perfectly, and the timing is just right to save Assassin's life. Nero's gone down. That's a Death Blossom there for Striker. That's always going to be ill-fated. With so much still available for the Justice to use defensively, it was never going to be a factor. FD got slurped, and oh my, the San Francisco Shock. Well, you can't be happy about this. The Justice and Decay primarily, Matt, create a huge opportunity on point B that sets up this win condition.
Well, you mentioned it, and I think it's a really nice shout to point out, is that this time we didn't see the Justice layer those support ultimates, which we've seen them do in map number 1, though it doesn't hurt them, but really hurts them in map number 2. That time they were able to get the sound barrier off. They waited till the right time after that to get the Coalescence, and when they use them properly, they end up taking the point. So you'll see they'll have 2 minutes and 16 in the time bank. Not a ton to work with, but with the way that they've been, working some of these fights, whether it be on the control or even Volskaya, and Decay's been able to sneak behind enemy lines or just get there with a TP. They've been able to force some action early and get picks.
Yeah, look, it feels like there's often not a lot of room for creativity, Matt, with this meta. Pretty flowcharty kind of fight. You keep referring to it like goats, and there is like a formulaic, aspect to it. But Decay is showing that sometimes just throwing caution to the winds or getting a good position on the Reaper, or more importantly, Matt, not just a good one, a position that takes your opponents by surprise, makes the enemy Diva snap their neck 180, trying to cover you with defense matrix, really makes a big difference. You can innovate in this meta.
So let's see if they innovate here on offense, where they try and take the fight. Can they force the Shock off of the high ground? We saw the Justice drop to the low ground play from the defensive spawn street. Then they go right over.
Okay.
Which is interesting. This may force just a fight on the point. Yeah, look at this. So they get this position. They're going to be able to have Mag stay here pretty safely. They're not going to come over the top of the card to try and finish.
Bebe's way ahead on Cole, Matt.
And he can they can build Coalescence, yeah.
Bebe way ahead of Violet. Might be a window here for the Justice.
Mag just needs to
They're going to go now. Okay, here's the Cole. They keep Mag up, Matt, like you said. And Fury's alive. Violet getting close to Cole, but he doesn't get it in time to keep Smurf alive. There it is. The timing. That's everything there, and it gives the Justice their second map in this series to make it 2-1. Ironically enough, Matt, they take more damage in the neutral. That means they get an earlier Cole. That means they win the map.
Yeah, and we saw the Shock do the same thing, where if you hide behind that payload, you force the defending team, or what we've seen it even now with the offensive team force there, towards that defender spawn street. You can't really just jump over the top and fight it. It's a great way to block line of sight, take some damage, and build up Coalescence. The Justice take advantage of it and take the
Stunning stuff from the Justice, and they are within spitting distance of a victory here in this series, which will definitely put a damper on things for the Shock heading into the June Joust knockouts. Stick around, everybody. Map number 4, it looms large.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody, and big shout out to the crew over there at Justice HQ getting involved in their watch party. And again, a good time to be a Washington Justice fan. It has been for the last, I don't know, year or so, I feel. And nice to see some actual humans in the flesh supporting their team. Hopefully we get more of that this year. You know, that'll be nice. A little bit more of that would be pretty good. Sorry, I'm just kicking.
You're just wandering
I'm kicking
around.
rocks here, just thinking about what could be, when we start to get back to events. Thanks for joining us here. Now, Matt, we talked about this a little bit in the break. We kind of said, well, okay, well, the Shock are definitely in the June Joust knockouts, but there are still some implications here for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in terms of, whether if they lost this 3-1, if they lose it 3-2, if they win it 3-2. A lot of different variations of things that can happen where they could still stay as high as second or fluctuate down to 4 or 5
There's
area.
a lot of variance here.
A lot of variance with what happens with the Shock. We do have subs coming into this next map as well, which would be Rialto, which is quite interesting as when we get back into game, they'll be bringing in Super for Smurf. And then they'll also be bringing in Glister. So I wonder if this means they want to play
double shield Widow.
You would always come in. Yeah, I mean, play Orisa. Orisa with the Sigma and the Widow, or maybe Orisa Diva.
I like that Paris did this on Rialto, and it looked really, really good. Who'd they do it against? Was it Dallas? God, I don't remember now. Either way, I mean, Oni got destroyed, people, with this kind of setup here. So it's interesting to see that the Shock have something prepared. We actually we know that they're getting mileage out of Glister in general, and if this map was not Rialto and let's say Dorado instead, he'd probably still get substituted in, I think, because his Widowmaker was
Junkertown, he would come
absolutely.
in. Right.
And Glister has been very, very good, even when under a lot of pressure. I think the Fuel played Genji against Glister last time we sort of saw him on Dorado. We just tried to dive him over and over again, and he did very well despite that. Shrugged off a lot of that attention, so there's no guarantee that you can sort of shut down this Widow once Glister gets rolling. I'd be scared.
No, and even if he doesn't play the Widow, if they want to put him on Ashe, let's say, he still gets a lot of value here on Rialto. And it's not like if Glister has to play Reaper, he can play Reaper. I know if Super has to play Winston, we've seen it before, right? They are capable of pivoting off of this if it doesn't work.
Absolutely. It's definitely the Reaper pick, something that's in every DPS player's back pocket for the most part. But like we discussed, it's not just the baseline set of skills at Reaper that we're looking for, right? It's how you set up positioning. It's how you actually use a teleport. Yeah. An ability, by the way, which gives a lot of warning. It's like, hey, I'm TPing into your backline right now. You get a whole sound cue for it. Obviously, great chance to bring up some of these Widowmaker stats. It's the scope critical hit percentage that I really love, right? And in many cases, especially when you're dealing with Reapers and Echoes, this can result in insta-kills. So it's not a direct correlation, obviously, because tanks are a thing, but that's huge. It means that you are getting these headshots. So you're getting a large amount of damage in a small hit, which against these compositions that feature sort of Lucio and Moira, that damage is really hard to fix in a short space of time. You have decent throughput, but it's not burst healing available. So that guarantee with Glister, that 30% of the time you're getting a critical hit, that's a big deal. Super comes back in here as well. Obviously, maybe some people are surprised to see that map because Reinhardt is simply out of rotation. You just cannot play him. But like we sort of discussed, right? It's a chance that he comes in and plays that Orisa.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you would think he comes in to do. Plays, or maybe he comes in to play Roadhog, right? I mean, that's also something he could do. You've seen Roadhog being played by teams like the Seoul Dynasty, so wouldn't be surprised if we see him come in and play some Roadhog.
Well, Paris did it as well, and I quite like it in a pinch, but again, teams don't want to necessarily play things that are good at shutting down Roadhog right now, so he gets his niche moment, but this map is so choke point intensive, right? It makes you wonder what good Roadhog is really going to do for you when it comes to those situations. So, look, we'll leave it open because Super was an incredible Roadhog player in the Grand Finals last year. You sort of, you watch him go up against Gesture in that Grand Final, and he definitely comes out on top. It's also a big reason why San Francisco beat Shanghai in that same sort of finals tournament. So, again, you don't feel bad seeing him on that, but the Orisa would make a lot more sense. We just need to fill time at the start of the round, so we make these baseless speculations that ultimately we don't expect to actually come true.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, we'll see. So Super will be on the Orisa, at least it looks like now. Same thing for the Justice on defense, as it looks like they'll be playing the double shield. Decay on the Hangzhou. We've seen his Hangzhou in the past. It's pretty nuts. Whether I mean, he could have played the Widow here too if he wanted to. Really play just about anything. I wonder if we see McCree on offense. So the McCree is really good for the brawl.
It's the flank potential as well, I think.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to the Overwatch League, Cashew Delissi.
I'm sure he is thrilled.
That's right, boys. I forgot what it felt like.
I need healing.
He's back, though.
That's right. Mush, he says to the Battle Cows. He's rezzed there by FD God. Well, let's try that again, shall we? Obviously, these barriers aren't going to last long underneath the scrutiny of Decay's Hangzhou, which is definitely not the first time we've seen him on that pick, but here's the flank, right? So it's not just the Echo flank. Glister actually brings up the rear and hopes to punish someone that tries to eliminate FD God here. When they see that's not happening, when they see that the sort of counter flank isn't forthcoming, Glister now will get himself into like a real flank position.
And I mentioned as well like what this series means for the Shock per se. So if they're able to win the series, which obviously the only way it's possible is 3-2. That would actually, if they win, that would keep them in second place going into the June Joust, as you see the cleanup kills coming in here for the Shock. If they lose the series, whether 3-1 here or 3-2, that knocks them down to third. So they don't get that bye. That would actually then go to the Atlanta Reign.
That would suck.
Which, yeah, to kind of have it be spoiled by the Justice would be pretty unfortunate.
Well, bear in mind that this is a composition that puts Violet back on the Baptiste here, which is definitely going to be a weapon that the Shock weren't able to leverage in the Moira comps. You see the point they're taking there. It's still the Justice decide they double down. Amplification Matrix used there by both Violet and Bebe. Well, it definitely looks better for the Justice. Looks better in red, apparently.
Yeah, they ended up do take the point, though, so now you'll have to play either from... They'll probably play from the high ground, as you see them kind of moving back up into the building, and we saw a team get stuck here the other day, as getting across this bridge can be pretty tough with the amount of damage hit scan pressure on the other side.
Glister, even though he rolls back preemptively because the Gravitic Flux comes in, he does get caught in it. Still an Immortality Field deployed hastily by Violet that keeps him alive, but Nero, perhaps he went a little bit too far. Assassin's able to burn him down now, and Assassin's in a... Oh, I mean, this is nasty. Sticky Bombs here would look really good. His Supercharge is down, and Dragon Strike claims FD God.
Yes, Decay shoots it from the stairs through the building where the Supercharger is, and Decay will get a second player. And this should be a hold coming in for the Justice, as... see some different compositions played, as Closer towards the end of this uses Valk, where that's you have FD, you got to use Valk, so you're kind of even on both sides, but may not have needed it. So a lot of it just gets burnt sitting there with the team.
Right, so Glister is on the Ash now. Given that the Shock weren't able to sort of bypass this part of the map as quickly as they would have liked, you do need to switch off here. Defense, so Air Matrix is used there. Good setup for Glister, but he's not found anything with it. And look how far forward Assassin is playing, by the way. He'll duplicate a Sigma right on top of Glister.
Yeah, I was going to say he's like in the opposing team's base by the bridge. As you have Super fighting on the cart, little Orisa 1v1. As players now are just scattered everywhere. But Nero gets with his main tank. Able to take out two. Super's going to get one. This will get the cart moving again. So I wonder, Assassin ends up dropping down trying to fight that. I wonder if the right play was to just keep picking damage, right? Just from afar as players start to move towards the choke. As Dragon Strike come in for Decay, doesn't get anything. Tries to split them off a little bit. As this will be the Shock getting the second point.
Nero's getting a lot of value in this map so far. duplicates a Orisa here. The Supercharger will actually persist for a couple of seconds after he drops out of this duplicate, so it's pretty high value ultimate to sort of copy. Glista had a very quiet second phase there, but getting rid of Decay I think is pretty big for Nero, right? He can play more aggressively. You saw that like with no Hunter, he just like flies close to the ground, goes for sticky bomb plays. He gets like 3 kills.
Good opportunity for the Shock here to put up a great time. You'll have Supercharger, Bob, Ant Matrix, Valkyrie, but it'll be Decay who takes out Nero with a headshot. Can you even get that res? You do. So you need a shield from Super to get it. It's going to force you back a little bit and drop Bob down.
I mean, Decay gets a pinhole shot there against Violet. There's no Resurrect available here for the Shock either. Despite the fact that they get rid of Fury early, this might still be a tough one for San Francisco. No Baptiste available, so FD pops that Valk. And Fury is resurrected. With Super down, I think that's probably all she wrote here for San Francisco. Yep.
Well, but because of the pickoff that Decay gets earlier on Nero, you don't have a res. And Decay gets the second one, and it really kind of stops the Shock in their tracks. That looked like to be a pretty good opportunity. They end up using Ant Matrix, Valkyrie, Supercharger, and Bob, and don't get anything for it. So big fight win there for the Justice.
Trying to run it back for San Francisco. Gravitic Flux is a very powerful tool on this part of the map. It's going to get used instantly by Trico, and that accretion does not connect. Fury not able to interrupt the ultimate. Or is he? Well, it seems like the Justice aren't too bothered by Gravitic Flux looking at the health bars. That one, though, hits a little harder. Choi takes a bit of damage on its way down. Nice Dragon Strike. This is going to force the Shock to split, but Nero's inside the Immortality Field. Decay's down, Matt.
And the Immortality Field is so good there from Violet as Nero will turn into the Orisa. Gets behind a few players. I mean, that Immortality Field from Violet is at such a perfect time because Mag is the Shock finish at 135. Mag lands a halt onto Nero as the Dragon comes through. And then right after, Nero's trying to get away. I don't believe he has the movement, but Fury hits him with an accretion. And when the accretion comes down, it looks like he's definitely going to die to the Dragon. But Violet, with the Immortality Field, saves him at the last second. I mean, just a clutch play there from Violet.
And that's what I said. Moving Violet from the Moira to the Batiste gives him, first of all, more damage output potential, playmaking ability. He is the kind of player that on many occasions we'll see him sit behind his own Ant Matrix and create his own luck. That's something that we credited Decay for doing earlier in this series, albeit different role, different hero, same concept. Be creative, create these openings yourself. And San Francisco looks going to get more done here, and Realfield definitely seems to be the map for this double shield setup. Don't forget, lock in your pick for tomorrow. Some really sick matches in our June Joust knockouts. The San Francisco Shock mat are fighting to avoid having to play in the mat all.
Yeah, in the first round.
Rather.
They do not want to play in that first round of knockouts.
Otherwise, it's quite the gauntlet to run, you know?
Yeah, I mean, what? The 1 and 2 seed only have to win 1 match. Everybody else would need to win 2 to make it to Hawaii. It's that Glister on the Widowmaker. Kick things off. I wonder if you'll see a Widow match, as we know Decay can do it.
Headshot. There's that scoped critical hit percentage again showing up. Sticky bombs, Glister just calling for a little bit of attention on that side of the map. Doesn't need much. He'll probably play low economy here because he has mobility to get away. Here come the Adjusters. Ponderous as they move out of spawn. Choi takes a bit of early damage. High ground taken by Nero.
Yes, well, the Justice are trying to take high ground control with... they have their Orisa Sigma going around the side as you see the angle that Glister going for here.
I mean...
very far out.
Not much to be done here, right? Decay peeks that because he's unhinged. Still, so he's not doing much at this time in Super.
That is... it's a good read, yeah. So they know that the Orisa Sigma are trying to take high ground. They know where... a Sigma ended up moving with Decay over towards that high ground area on the other side. They know they have an opportunity where they see just the Echo Mercy in front of them, and it's a really good halt by Super that sets it up.
That's awful nasty stuff. The Justice now, they're being kept honest. They don't get to split their forces like that just to try and hunt Glister down. So maybe when Decay's like, well, I don't really want to go too much further. I don't want to risk running into Glister. That is still going to be a problem that somehow the Justice are going to have to deal with. They just need to be quicker about the flank, I guess. Make it harder to predict. Okay, Ant Matrix for both teams. And there's a flanking attempt there. Choi Kyobin's going to get the immortality for them kept alive. Now, Super, though, doesn't have it for him. Oh, the placement there was a little off from Violet. He wanted to keep his Sigma alive, but he loses his Orisa.
Oh, that is tough, as we'll see Nero drop here at the end. You will have a supercharger. The supercharger that was dropped was Nero's when he got the duplicate. So you will have a supercharger. You will have your own Gravitic Flux here for the choke. There's also where Glister can be a little bit more effective, a little bit more impactful in the game.
Yep, there it is.
And there
long sideline and a halt as well, but Assassin sticks him with the goo and copies the Sigma. Gets rid of the supercharger. Accretion doesn't connect, otherwise he'd be doing it all. Gravitic Flux there, unclear about where he threw that one. He's going to get knocked out of Duplicate here, but he'll have his fight cooldown. He steps back, and that opens a way for Decay to deal with Violet. That McCree now can play closer without having to worry about the Widow. Still looks pretty good so far until the res on Super. Now things might get a little bit dicey. That's a very defensive Gravitic Flux there from Choi. There is no connection.
Gets nothing.
But Glister's back.
Yeah, maybe they thought the halt was going to come in, yeah.
Work through these shields, open up opportunities for your Widow to find these headshots. That's the plan right now for San Francisco. Fury grasps. Plenty of shield for him now. Ant Matrix halt though. There's going to be a setup here, I think, with another amplification Matrix from the shock. Hard to miss this Gravitic Flux here. Super doesn't have Fortify, can't get out of it. Assassin takes him down, but 4 players were involved in that kill. Fury just trying to grind his way forward, and there's the res again. Great timing, but Decay punishes FD God for bringing Super back into the fight. Another on Violet, heads are rolling, and Decay's the dealer of death.
They have to be able to get this here. I mean, if Glister popping shots from range, it's not good enough. It's finally the Justice get the payload over the line. It is not easy, though. I think now, if you're Glister, you probably have to move away from the Widowmaker. Either go to the McCree, go to Ashe. I don't think at this stage of the map you can get a lot of value out of the Widow.
Look at this. Fan, immortality field down, random headshot just before the Sigma shield protects Violet, probably gets Decay killed.
So they stay on the Widow at the infrasight here. Glister's kind of taking an off angle, looking straight down the street, and everybody else taking a position up in the window. So this will probably force the Justice inside. Halt comes through, shooting shields there for Glister.
Immortality field.
Yeah, I was going to say, he may get flanked, yeah.
Assassin was on top of that one like moss on a rock, Matt. Did not give him a moment to breathe. Violet ends up being the one that gets hit most of the sticky bombs, and that was a short-lived stint as Sigma, wasn't it? Nero just blows Assassin up.
Last a second is Sigma, and then even quicker taken out on the Echo. He's going over the top. This is an Ant Matrix from Bebe, just trying to force players inside, split them up. They split up the tanks. The Super who was forced to one side there for the shock.
Okay, so Ant Matrix now from the shock. Violet, this is his time to shine. Halt, great setup. Nero duplicates, offers what Super would have otherwise. Decay's forced away, doesn't have a chance to go for a Deadeye, but still gets the kill on Violet. It's rezzed immediately, but Choi goes down in the interim. Assassin's brought back into the fight, and again the Justice, by hook or by crook, they will have this second checkpoint, Matt.
And because of where the Justice are setting up and the fights are taking place, you haven't gotten a ton out of the Widow. It's really been towards the end of these fights where maybe you can make something now if you're the shock. This will be the Gravitic Flux. This will connect with Fury, and you're going to take him out.
Assassin got caught in the flux. It didn't look like it because he was flying around, but he takes enough damage, I think, hits the ground, and it's just a body shot from Glister to get the job done. That's rough. It's not easy to catch an Echo inside that flux at all.
And Decay is, he's been holding on to this Deadeye for a while. Not really a great spot to use it. But it's the only thing they got. They're going to have a Valkyrie in this Deadeye.
What are you going to play? Ashe instead? I don't think so, right? This is... Who cares about the Deadeye, I suppose? Just do your best Solmin Su impression.
You could have played Hanzhou here.
Yeah,
You could have played Hanzhou. We see a lot of teams play Hanzhou here on offense.
Great points. And it worked really well for the Justice defensively, but here things might be going wrong. This is their chance at closing down the series before we have a 5th map forced. And there goes the Bongo with the slam poetry session here for Super. Air Matrix in the way, he body blocks some of it, but not too much. Decay's Deadeye gets interrupted by an accretion from the high ground. The Trebuchet Trichoban silences the McCree from the backline, but Decay won't be stifled. He gets rid of Nero, takes a couple hits from Glister, still has the cojones to pick that left side. Baby, they're not so lucky. Glister now starting to fire up, and there's no healing left for the Justice, man. This is dire straits for Washington. Even a good gondola pilot, it's not going to get them out of them. Decay gets a 3rd. It's Assassin this time. Batiste's in play, and the regenerative burst helps keep Trichoban fighting fit. The overtime is done, and San Francisco claim Rialto.
Yeah, Glister's Widow definitely started to come alive towards the end of that half, and then really towards the end of a lot of fights, able to clean up the action. Is right there, able to land some shots towards the end. There was no way for the Justice to access him playing that Orisa-based composition. And we'll have ourselves a map number 5, a huge map number 5 for the Shock. Determines whether they get a bye or not tomorrow.
Absolutely. Maybe just a little bit of hubris there from Decay, who didn't switch over towards Hangzhou. It's tough for McCree to get value there, and Glister stuck to the Widow, stuck to his guns, and aimed his right at the foe's noggins. Nicely done by San Francisco. Expect some substitutions for the break, of course, as we head back to control for map 5.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile.
Well, we all kind of had a feeling coming into this series that it would be quite the close affair, and our expectations have been met by both these rosters. Matthew, San Francisco looked pretty darn good, making some big substitutions to their roster. Violet's back on the bat, but crucially, it's it's Glister and Super coming in to play the double shield. They look pretty darn good at it too.
Yeah, and Glister comes in off the bench for these types of moments, and it seemed to really start to play well for San Francisco, but they go back to their original lineup. So Strike will come in for Glister, and then you also have Smurf who will come in here for Super. So tells you they want to go back, play the original types of compositions that we've seen really everybody play throughout the June Joust thus far. And here's where we stand. So if the Justice are to win this control map, that would put the Shock in 3rd place. That would have the Atlanta Reign bumped up to 2nd. If the Shock win it, they will secure that 2nd place spot, and then Atlanta will jump down to 3rd. So for Shock, you win this map. You only have to win 1 match tomorrow to make it to Hawaii.
That's right. They get to sit out of the first round of our knockouts, and they won't have to play that extra game. It makes a big difference, I think, to come in fresh.
I'd say for Washington too, for the overall season, if you win this and you go 6-2, you put together a tournament that is still better than Florida Mayhem at 1-3, who was a knockout team last stage, went to Hawaii, and then also better than the Toronto Defiant, who is a knockout team in the last tournament. So 2 teams that played quite well last tournament. You expect to bounce back throughout the season.
Well, yeah.
You kind of even put yourself some distance away from
Bear in mind, only 3 teams from the Western region automatically make playoffs based on end-of-season standings, right? So a lot of teams in the West will have to fight to even be in the playoffs, through their own knockouts at the end of the season. So you get that 6-2, Matt, you're laughing. You're definitely on the right path.
I'm thinking about how the Gladiators just boosted their stuff,
4-0,
right?
yeah.
4-0 this stage. It was a huge, huge tournament for the Gladiators.
Here we go on a Busan. It's mecha base to start with, and yes, the team compositions will be mirrored. Yes, they will be the Moira Lucio setup. Yes, we'll have Coalescence coming out soon. FD God has to be topped up there by Violet. Gonna be poking around until Cole time, which is right about now. There it is. Comes out from Vada and Bebe respond here. How do we force some positioning if you're either team right now? You see both Divas at work while the Coles are in play just to try and knock people out of formation. No opportunities there, so Assassin now gets that duplication. So does Nero. Divas are copied and Nero gets into the backline. There's a sound barrier here, but Nero desuits.
Oh, and the sound barrier comes in for closer just at the final moment. It looked like potentially wasn't going to have it as Nero still has Diva. That's going to be a kill onto Mag there from FD God, but Smurf goes down at the hands of Decay. So Decay and Assassin coming up big at the end.
Troy gets caught by that bomb, and he's going to trade at least with Fury. The timing not great. If you know this is Diva, you bomb second, you're at great risk of getting blown up before you can get back into the mech. So that was a long fight. So much so that the Moira is almost back to Coalescence once more. And the Justice lose the first play, but end up winning the fight.
I'm more surprised at the fact that the Justice are able to win in this head-to-head, because this is really kind of what the Shock should be incredible at. But then when we see the compositions kind of change up, that's when the Justice have struggled. Coalescence almost gets FD God there. It gets quite low. This will be the Coalescence here for Violet. So the Justice want to try and just disengage, and that's going to be Striker with his Death Blossom taken out there by Decay.
Yeah, Decay just shoots him in the face, Matt, while he's trying to blossom. That's huge. Smurf down as well.
Decay with the Re. He is so scary to play against. He's had such an interesting career even in the Overwatch League so far. Remember when he came in on the Gladiators, there was so much hype for him, and he didn't really live up to it because a lot of it was goats, right?
Yep.
When we had him in the league. And then he goes over to Dallas, and a Trade Pro G looks really good, and now you're really starting to see what Decay looks like on a top team.
I mean, he played Zaire on both those rosters at times. All right, Assassin out of duplicate there. Smurf Primal, a little bit unclear to see what he's looking for. Now, though, I think he wants a bit of closer. And Coalescence is in play, though. Closer's able to escape from the Winston, as they often are right now. Primal Rage is tough to get value with in this meta. Violet is getting hit by a Winston right now, but he's able to get away, and they flip the point. If he can hold this Coalescence, Violet will be happy.
And he's going to be able to. The Justice just reset. They know there's no chance of winning that one. They need to come in fast this fight, get this Coalescence out of Violet, hunt him down. Maybe it's a TP from Decay into the backline with a Death Blossom that gets him to use it, or just gets him to fade to get away and then use it. So we'll see how the Justice go about this. They need to get that big ult.
I mean, San Francisco want to call early here anyway, otherwise they, sort of risk Bebe having his back. San Francisco, you think, want to probably start this fight early, and yeah, here's the Winston dive. Get Cole value as soon as possible, while Bebe doesn't have his. Primal for Mag, he gets away from Striker, who's a little out of position now, and TP's across the gap. Unclear if the Justice know he's here, so he drops down now without really knowing what's below him and finds very little. However, Decay gets Nero with his Death Blossom. It's a 5v5 right now with a Duplicator Diva in play for Assassin. Smurf has a Primal Rage, and he uses it to stay clear of the blast zone for the time being. Mag is taken down as he hits the ground, and remember, the Shock is still in charge of the point right now.
And they're going to use the Coalescence, and it's
Not
just
good.
Assassin here with Decay. And now you have Fury coming back. As this is really risky. You're going to lose Closer here, too. So the walls go up, and I mean, maybe they just feel that Fury and Decay are enough to win it, as Fury will take out two.
Yeah, Bebe goes for the ult. Decay was in a dangerous spot on that right-hand side, close to the edge. Oh, Nero! That's huge!
Oh, he dies already,
That's it! Nero brings the mech straight back down, and still the Shocker in charge of the point. Nero eventually going to fall, but Striker and Smurf are back in the fight. And they'll stall for as long as they can. Coalescence for Violet, by the way. This has all gone wrong for the Justice. They have to disengage immediately.
You can come back in, though, with your own sound barrier. You're going to force sound barrier the other team. Be Mag that jumps in. This will be a Death Blossom for Decay into the back
Both
line.
teams go for it. Nero's not back in the fight, so doesn't get the beat, but he'll return momentarily. Decay in a great spot to do a lot of damage here. It isn't really getting forced back at all. Defense Matrix finally gets put in his direction. And Assassin gets some free damage, wants to try and set up an easy focus in being killed, but instead it's going to be a duplication of the Diva. Smurf's already gone down, and Nero needs to respect Assassin right now, who's getting right up in his face. FD God, uncharacteristic, caught out position there by the bomb. And the Justice are back in control.
The Justice are either going to need a pick early or to play this, just rotate around the map perfectly. Violet with a Coalescence, Smurf with a Primal Rage. And all they'll have is the Fury self-destruct and a Primal of their own.
Cole online, here it comes. Straight away, the flight cooldown for Assassin has to be used to go backwards to get him out of the fight. He'll need to wait before going aggressive with that gigantic. Both Moiras are down. This is getting dicey here. Only Lucio's left for the healing for both teams, and FD God is taken down by Mag. It's a trade, though. Choi is there. Mag and Fury are both down, and there's no front line left for the Justice. They got to find a way to stay in the fight. Without that durability, they can't. The Justice come close, but close don't cut it here. And San Francisco just snatch away the first round on Busan.
Oh, and they got the Justice got what they needed as soon as the Coalescence came out from Violet. They were able to take him out, and just not able to get back towards the point. You get back towards the point there if you're the Justice, and force an even longer OT. That might be when you're actually able to turn. So this one has all the makings to go down to the wire.
Tough to separate either of those two teams in performance after that round. Just huge kills on Moira. I think if Striker doesn't get Bebe there, Matt, with that Death Blossom, it's over for the Shock. Here we are, though. No better way to end it. So go into a second round here with the same compositions. FD God again takes a liberal helping of damage at the start of the fight, but as the Shock using the terrain to their advantage here, forcing the Justice back. Good poop.
The Justice, they don't want to play for the point here. They want to take this fight right to him. Hey, gets right up in Violet's grill.
FD God does so well at just creating the spacing there for Violet. Gets him Cole early as well. Bebe doesn't have it for another 5%. Can he get it quickly enough? No, Mag's down again. It's the Coalescence charge time difference. They may decide this fight. Nero's removed by Decay, though. He waits for him to float close enough to the ground. And the Justice get a later Cole.
As well.
That's huge, Matt. Death Blossom's here as well, but it won't be needed.
It's just the they're never, when we're on board with Decay, you notice he's right basically up in Violet's face. And there's nobody turning, like putting a ton of pressure on him. He doesn't have to use the Wraith Form to get away or force that cooldown out. And it just allows him at the end of these fights to just roam and just clean up.
Both teams have sound barriers to work with now. Death Blossom, without any prompt, Decay just goes in for that and he catches FD God. Enforced savings for the Shock, who now won't have the use of the sound barrier or any of their faculties in this fight if Decay has any say. They get absolutely routed.
Another fight win for the Justice.
Just a random Blossom there nets up the huge Lucio pick.
Yeah, just kind of drops down, and yeah, there's nobody in position. They haven't done a great job of tracking Decay and where he is on the map and where he's coming from. Is Smith will get a ton of damage down. Is coalescence for both sides. Everybody will just kind of fight here in the neutral for a bit.
Nero, FD God, sorry, constantly looking for Decay. Where's that Reaper? Where is he? I've got to boop him away. That's a trade. So Smurf are going aggressive, getting rid of Assassin, gets taken down by Beyblade. There's a self-destruct there as well, compounding the issue. Striker is AWOL. Decay removes him right now, and I think that had to be a fade from Violet to get away from Mag, and it looks like Mag's happy enough with that. He just doubles back, gets rid of FD God, and this is a 73-0% lead for the Justice.
It's like, I feel like the difference here has really been, the Decay on the Reaper has been tremendous for the Justice. And I think you've also seen Nero play really well on the Echo, but man, just the difference, I think, with the Reapers, like Striker's got to get more value here in this final match.
It's go time. The Shock know they have to win this next fight. Nero's going to copy the Diva, and Decay is actually in a pretty safe position. He uses Wraith Walk, he gets away. He'll have to TP in to have impact, but it's up to the Shock to test this point. There it is, great boop. Another one from FD God puts Decay off course and prevents him from finding anything with that Death Blossom. Striker doesn't even have to do him one better because Decay was removed by FD God himself. San Francisco, great timing to come back into the fight. And a great boot from FD God to protect them from the Blossom damage.
The point does flip to San Francisco. Everybody on the Justice threw everything at that. So we'll see if they can win a fight where neither team really has anything extremely impactful outside of maybe FD God getting this sound barrier during it. See who can force any type of position here. Maybe Smurf as they come in with this Primal Rage in this corner.
Wouldn't be bad in that room, but Smurf doesn't know who could hit him, I guess. He's dealing with Reaper or someone similar. Sound barrier from FD God, and the Shock want to try and take matters into their own hands. They engage the fight. They get Decay. Smurf for the Primal Rage now, and there's no Reaper to punish him going aggressive. Perfect scenario for San Francisco when they can hold on to Trichoban's self-destruct.
Yeah, so once they started to push in and they used the sound barrier, that's when Fury actually drops his self-destruct to try and prevent them from pushing up into him with that sound barrier. But you end up losing Decay to Violet somehow, you know, in the Moira DPS. So looks like the Justice want to take a different approach. 99 on the point. They want to work their way towards the point. And the Shock, they read this. They know as soon as they don't see anybody near the choke, they saw somebody cross to take the fight here.
The Justice are an open book, but doesn't matter if you don't know what the ending's going to be like. I guess Mag taken down by the self-destruct there. Choi's able to find him. That's just huge. Decay tried to get in position. Immediately going to be countered by Trichoban, who just boosts for the high ground. Knocks the Reaper out of position. Assassin copied a Winston's able to get rid of Smurf with the Primal. And FD God goes over the map here. Now things get dicey for San Francisco. They have to try and stay in control, but they don't have the players to do it. The Justice so close to making this a round 3, map 5 scenario. Death Blossom there is going to force away the enemy Reaper. Striker can't stay on the point. And I don't think Smurf is going to last much longer either. He doesn't get the Primal Rage. And there it is. We have a third round here on Busan.
So Striker has his Death Blossom, but just can't come out of Wraith form quick enough to live, right? Because Decay's still at the end of his Death Blossom. He used it really early just to get there at such a point, but even long enough to get his own Death Blossom off. So see this from Assassin's POV. He duplicated the Winston. We've been seeing a lot of the duplicates more towards the Diva, but This time goes with the Winston here, and nice primal skills.
Yeah, nicely done. Just puts FD God too far away from any surface to skate back on. Comes back as the Echo, but it's already over by that point. And that part of the map is great for sticky bombs there. Really punishing spot. So here we go, Matt. Last round, last chance for both of these teams to try and take a W. For the Shock, their second place seeding depends on it.
Yeah, like we mentioned, you win this if you're the Shock. That's not good. You lose FD God right away. Can't even disengage now. As you see the punishment coming here from the Justice. You lose this map if you're the Shock. You fall to the 3rd seed. You do not get that bye tomorrow. You will have to win 2 maps to make it to 2 matches to make it to Hawaii. 2 maps, that wouldn't be that bad. 2 matches. Make it to Hawaii. Having that bye is such a huge advantage. We saw Space talk about it earlier. Having that extra game to just sit and watch in the morning, warm up, sleep a little later. A huge impact, seeing what the other team's playing and how you can take advantage of it. Not having that for the Shock could be a huge thing tomorrow.
Here's the early trades that bring Coalescence, Smurf low, Fury even lower, gets topped up. Copy here of a Moira, extra healing, okay. Whether that was intentional or not, the Justice going to have themselves another Coalescence at this rate. No, Sticky Bobs. Strike is there with the Death Blossom. And he gets Mag at the end there. Look, I've got to say, my favorite character is definitely the Reaper guy. Very powerful. Special move, honestly, is one of the best in the game. He comes equipped with these 2 revolvers that only takes 3 or 4 shots to actually execute a kill. So it comes in really handy when you come in from the side like that.
What are you even talking about?
Look at him. Perfect execution of why Reaper's so strong from Striker.
True. Sound barrier for both teams. So the Shock desperately needed that. It felt like momentum was really starting to go in favor of the Justice. So they're going to try and build up somewhere. No, it's actually Decay TPing in the backline with Mag, and they're going to take out Violet, then use the sound barrier to keep everybody else alive.
Okay, that works. Getting rid of Violet there is absolutely massive. I mean, it's one bad thing to not have a Moira in the fight. It's even worse to not have a Moira generating Coalescence. Smurf goes down. There's just not enough healing to deal with all of this attention that the San Francisco Shock are getting. They still control the point for now, though, so this is extra percentage they're gaining. And Striker takes Mag down. Is there a chance now with Violet back in the fray to do something with this? It's possible, Mag.
Yeah, it's possible because you have Smurf coming back from the spawn. It'll be Striker who takes out Assassins. He's getting close to a duplicate. Yeah, you're in a spot where you hold on to this point.
What a wild
You're
ride!
San Francisco. That is a wild turn of events, as the original dive is really good. So Mag goes in with Decay. Decay TPs, Mag jumps in right onto Violet, and they take him out. And what the Shock try and do is just answer back. They're like, okay, well, we feel like Violet will live. Like, maybe get a fade, Coalescence, maybe he's got somebody there with him. We'll send Smurf in to the back line, and they end up just having closer pop the sound barrier. Everybody actually gets hit by it. And they get that first pick on Violet, but they are not able to take advantage. This will be Assassin with a duplicate to kick it off.
Booped once by FD God, but doing so puts FD God in a dangerous spot. He's taken down by the Death Blossom there. It was almost inevitable. Striker would have been knocked into that self-destruct if he didn't Wraith walk away. So the Shock, they get what they came for, Matt. They get 99%. No need to stall any longer. They're not just stalling, though. It's almost as if they're stuck in this fight and they can't get out with no Lucio.
Hello there.
Yeah, so the Justice at the final moment. You see Decay when he gets on top of the drum, just looking around, trying to find one player isolated. FD got off to the side on his own. They're able to just jump on him straight away. This is dangerous for San Francisco, though. Double supportal for the Justice. You have a duplicate here. They got to go quick. This will be Coalescence for the Justice. Sound barrier response for the Shock.
Yeah, FD God played passively at the start of that fight. You saw that, Matt, because he wants to get a guaranteed beat. He doesn't want to risk dying because they have to buy time for Violet to get this, the Coalescence. And they've done that perfectly. So even though Bebe had that ultimate and the Shock didn't, the sound barrier gets them through those stormy seas, and now Striker's going to cause a stir of his own. Decay taken down by the skilliest of skill orbs from Violet, and with Mag going down, this could be it. The Justice at 77, but they can never get quite back on the point. The Striker back again. 2 for the Reaper. And now it's just stall. Assassin going to come in on a Diva and try and stay alive, but Close has already been taken down. He will be desuited. No chance for a bomb. Mag's going to try and come in on the Wrecking Ball. He needs to get this touch. Assassin doesn't get to the point, and Decay has to use Wraithwalk aggressively. He knows his goose is utterly cooked. Striker chases him back into the corner, but also has to use his own Wraithwalk. It doesn't matter. He comes out of Wraith, kills Mag. Here's another Coalescence for Violet. So much healing for him in this fight now, but it's damage he's interested in right now. Ending the stall is paramount, and Decay falls to the second Coalescence for Violet in the space of this one fight. That should be enough, but Closer gets on the point. Break clears the Lucio. It's short-lived though. San Francisco lock up that crucial second place.
That was too close, I think, for comfort. If you're the Shock, is the Justice they've really shown. A space earlier mentioned this is a team that he felt was the most underrated right now, and they play like it. I mean, you do not know what the Justice we saw this week was so much different than the Justice we saw the first week. That you see this Justice week 1. Both of these teams would be headed to knockout. Potentially this could have been for that top spot with the way both of these teams are playing. The Shock, they get a hard-fought win, but they'll be happy about this one even more tomorrow when they get that first round bye.
Absolutely. San Francisco's road, to be fair, through the June Joust so far, or up to the June Joust, hasn't been an easy one. That game against the Dallas Fuel, they really have to fight hard in that particular match. They obviously end up winning that one, but there's a lot of the same, right? It's a lot of this sort of Lucio Moira compositions, a lot of really little things deciding who wins these fights and who loses. We're seeing teams rewarded, like San Francisco was there, for just audaciously stalling the point. Being in like a 3v6, but having a Diva there, a sound barrier or something like that. Huge shout out to FD God, but here's our player of the match here, presented by Xfinity. I mean, Nero looks incredibly good across this entire series, Matt. You can't ask for much more from this guy. Big Echo energy up against a really solid player like Assassin.
A very good use of his duplicates. You see him and Smurf working really well together, and he has like sneakily gone under the radar. It's like a really great fit for this team, as he's really started to come into his own now on the Shock. We know what he could do in terms of skill, where we've seen with him with the Guangzhou Charge in the previous seasons. But now I think a lot of fans starting to have their eyes opened up by how good of a player Nero is, especially on this Echo.
Yeah, this guy has really been around the world in terms of his Overwatch League stint here, and he's now found himself on a team who's really going to value that killer instinct that he has, and they're getting their absolute best out of him on Echo, which is, you had to be playing her right now. He reminds me of Dante in that sense, right? Like these teams are really investing heavily in this sort of young Western player who's able to produce results like this. It's 13k, damage per 10. Yes, there's plenty of deaths. This is a very brawly setup there, so you don't expect to have, so few deaths like we saw in the previous series. So here's what our knockouts now looks like, Matthew. There's a chance for 2 Californian teams. It's a short flight, I guess, to get to Hawaii for the 2 of them here. But, man, to get there, we have Dallas versus Houston. Another Battle of Texas. We are spoiled with these.
So my gut really, looking at the bracket, I really like the Gladiators. I like the Gladiators versus the Outlaws for the Fuel. I am really interested what happens in Atlanta versus Boston, because Atlanta is really the only team who's running, double shield stuff. And they're still able to win at a high level, where I think if Atlanta gets by Boston, I think that's a way scarier matchup for the Shock than seeing a team where what we're going to see mostly from with like a Dallas, a Houston, or Boston. I feel like Atlanta is pretty scary to go up against.
That's an interesting series. The only times that Boston have tried double shield, I think it was on Rialto, I think, and they used Punk in that series. Gableshi generally hasn't been playing the Sigma at all, so maybe we kind of get to see if Boston are really made of the right stuff to go for far in these knockouts. They're going to be able to beat the double shield composition with their preferred Lucio Moira sort of brawl setup. Crazy stuff. I mean, great games today already. That one was an absolute banger, one of the best that we've seen so far in this season. We've had plenty of good ones. When we come back, we're going to have a chance to hear from Striker from the victorious San Francisco Shock on just how it feels to be guaranteed that bye in the first part of tomorrow's knockouts.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM. We're joined now by Striker from San Francisco Shock. 스트라이커 선수, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Alright, now, although you guys clutched a win today, this series was very, very close. It was back and forth. It was a great match overall. What adjustments did you guys make to get the win today? 일단 첫 번째 질문은 오늘 승리를 거두시긴 했지만은 오늘 경기가 굉장히 팽팽한 접전이었던 것 같아요. 굉장히 좀 이렇게 왔다 갔다도 많이 하고 굉장히 좋은 경기였는데 오늘 이 힘든 경기를 어떻게 해서 승리를 거두시게 되셨나요?
일단은 이제 저희가 이제 지고 거기서 이제 시간 남았을 때 저희 코치들이랑 선수들이 이제 최대한 피드백을 하면서 이제 그 상대방의 스타일을 분석해가면서 이제 저희가 그 플레이 스타일로 이제 맞추려고 노력을 해서 부산까지 와서 이겼던 것 같아요.
Right, so what happened was, after we lost the first map on Control, we had a little bit of break going into the second map. So we really used that time wisely to sort of give each other feedback, and not only that, to sort of listen to what the coaches had to say. And we sort of use all that to sort of change our play styles so that we could be more effective against the Washington Justice. So it was just constant feedback, constant changing play styles, and just playing a lot better all the way to Busan, and clutching that Busan map sort of got us the victory against the Washington Justice. Now, my second question for you is the Shock have secured a bye with today's win. The winner actually, so you guys will be playing against the winner of Atlanta versus Boston match. Who do you think is going to win? So basically, who do you want to face in the knockout rounds and why? 자, 이제 노카웃전에 들어가면서 오늘 이제 높은 시드를 받게 되셔서 첫 번째 라운드에서는 안 하고 이제 두 번째 라운드부터 경기를 치르시게 될 텐데 그 아틀란타 대 보스턴전에서 승리하는 팀과 겨루시게 될 텐데 그 두 팀 중에서 누가 이길 것 같고, 그러니까 쉽게 말하면 좀 어떤 팀과 노카웃전을 겨루고 싶으신가요?
일단은 보스턴 대 아틀란타는 이제 제 생각에는 아틀란타가 이겨서 올라올 것 같습니다. 네.
왜 이유가 있을까요?
일단은 아틀란타는 이제 옛날부터 투방벽도 잘한 팀이었고, 그리고 이제 러시 조합도 잘한다고 생각을 해가지고 아틀란타가 올라올 것 같습니다.
Alright, I personally think that the Atlanta Reign is going to clutch the win against their match against the Boston tomorrow in the knockout rounds, mainly because they've always been good with the two shield compositions, and not only that, I've also heard that they're pretty good at the rush composition as well, so they do, I believe, have the upper hand in their matchup against the Boston Uprising tomorrow in the knockout rounds. Alright, that's it for the interview. Thank you so much for your time, Striker. Good luck tomorrow. 자, 마지막으로 오늘 여기 인터뷰 여기까지 하고요. 내일 화이팅 하시길 바라겠습니다.
네, 감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다. Let's head back to the desk, everybody.
Thank you so much, Striker. Thank you so much, Danny. Congrats to the San Francisco Shock for that victory. And yeah, what a nail biter that was. A real back and forth, and somewhere in between, I was just like trying to figure out what actually gives which team the edge, and I couldn't quite find an answer. Because I did ask you, like, why, what is happening? You struggled also.
Yeah, it's one of these compositions where there's a lot happening on your screen, and unless you really slow it down, start pausing and looking at the specifics of what's going on, it's really hard to give you a concise answer of where the difference is. I actually found it really interesting listening to Striker talk about after map 1. We had a good discussion, we had a teamwork, we gave a lot of feedback back and forth to all the players, and they came out stronger. That is what makes San Francisco Shock a two-time champion. They have that ability to bounce back and improve in the middle of a match. And we saw that. They obviously came back, played a very close series, as you said, but they looked superior on that double shield. But when they were able to sort of start getting that edge, start getting those little 1% of things that matter the most in these compositions, they got it over the hump in the end, secured themselves a bye. You love to see it from the San Francisco Shock. I want to see how far these guys can go. Are they going to start their dominance of this season starting in the June Joust?
Yeah, all great points by Costa. It's so hard to really pinpoint, what is the big difference maker. If anything, you really have to look at the positioning of teams, how they prepare going into the fights. That being said, though, regarding what Costa said as well, this team now feeling like the San Francisco Shock, you know, they have that killer instinct, they're able to close out some of these series and win it when it comes down to the final round on the final map. I still don't think that this is really San Francisco Shock playing their best game, because we've seen at times throughout the series that there are some individual mistakes. FT God had a couple of moments where he slipped up, he died too early and gave